All right, it is 6 o'clock and it is Monday, September 30th. For this evening, we have a work session scheduled, and this is for the presentation of the preliminary 2025 city budget. Just to remind everyone kind of how a work session goes, this is mainly for council to get information, to ask questions. There will be no public questions during the work session. So this part of the meeting tonight will just be for council to ask any questions. And after that, we will go into a regular meeting that's scheduled at 6:30, or a regular special meeting scheduled at 6:30. The preliminary 2025 city budget presentation, just to kind of give everyone an idea of how this whole process worked. Every department provides what their budgetary needs are for an average year. So we ask all the department heads to come up with their department budget for an average year. This year, we did go back after all the department heads presented their budgets, and we asked them to make some more cuts. We asked them to cut another 10%, I believe it was. So they all did that. After doing that, we went back to them again, and we gave them a number and asked all the departments to figure out their budgets within that number, and allowed them to move things around as they felt their department needed. And then even after that, there were maybe a few smaller cuts made after meeting with individual department heads. So just in a few departments. So this has been a long process, and I think where we're at right now, we have a balanced budget. And so I guess I'll just get into it too, to let you know that these budgets, if there's anything out of the ordinary, we don't give anyone cushions. So they anything out of the ordinary. So we did do bare bones, and even eating into the bones here. As far as some of our assumptions, so we look at things like inflation, and in making those assumptions, like what might insurance costs go up to, cost of living, all things like that. And so when we're looking at plugging in numbers, we just have to figure out what we think things will be. It's not going to be perfect when you're making a budget, because you don't have actual numbers until that year is over, or until something has already happened. So we do not have actual numbers. These are all assumptions. And all right, we will get into it. Oops. And I am not very techie, so bear with me. Not sure who decided to let me use this stuff. All right. So our first slide here is just starting off with some good news, that City of Sturgis has the third lowest average monthly utility bills of all Class 1 municipalities in South Dakota. This chart was put out by AE2S, an engineering firm. So not sure if you can read those numbers. So Sturgis's average is $80.05. And then we are only below Aberdeen at $78.34, and Watertown, which is $76.12. So that is some good news as far as Class 1 municipalities in South Dakota. Here's a,
When was those, when were those dates?
they just put this out recently, AE2S, so.
Base charges
see.
or surcharges as well?
I pulled this chart from AE2S, so you can check with them about all their information. That's why I said it was from them. So if we can, I'll kind of go through this. If you guys want to jot down your questions for after, we'll go through it. So next we have the little history of Sturgis mill levy. And this goes back to, well, you can see starting at the high point in 1994, the city's mill levy was $10.72 compared to today, or to 2025, which will be $4.13. So although it's gone up from last year, when you look at the history of the mill levy, it has gone down. Of course, assessment values, property values have gone up in the county, so just because the mill levy has gone down doesn't mean what you're actually paying has gone down, because your property values have gone up and so on. And then also, even though the city's mill levy is $4.13, you're also paying in your property taxes to the schools and the county. So you have to take that into consideration. But just looking at the city of Sturgis, back in 1994, it was $10.72, and we are now down to $4.13. All right, up next we have some of our assumptions. So these are some of the things that we plugged in when figuring out the budget, and it was 2% general sales tax increase, 2%, there was an assumption of 2% growth in 2024, and then also that assumption of 2% growth in 2025. The actual growth in 2023 was 3.6%, and the actual growth in 2024 from January through August has been 2.8%. And so that is the actual for 2024. So in 2025, we are still assuming just a 2% though. Into the BBB, those numbers would carry over as far as the assumption of the 2% growth was in 2024, and then also 2% growth in 2025. The actual growth, if you see, in 2023 was 6.9%. I'm not sure that was a normal year, but that was pretty large in 2023. And then the actual growth in 2024 from January through August has been 1.4%. Those numbers, January through August, those were put out on the state's website. So those are numbers that the state has put out. Utilities. This is assuming adding some credit card convenience fees, which has become the industry standard. You'll see that a lot, even everyone has probably seen that as a consumer, where places are now charging you that extra percentage if you want to use your credit card to make a payment. And so the city would start doing that also in 2025. We are also assuming a 5% usage increase and no change in surcharge, tap availability, or bulk. There is no assumed growth in the number of new accounts, which is being pretty conservative because I'm sure we will have some new homes being built in 2025, and so this assumes no new accounts, which is, like I said, being conservative. Wastewater, pretty much the same, 5% increase usage. No change in availability or surcharges, and no assumed growth in the number of new accounts again. Sanitation, the same, 5% usage increase, and no assumed growth in the number of new accounts. So any new accounts on any of those will be extra revenue. As far as the rally, being very conservative, even though 2025 is the 85th anniversary, which is a 5-year anniversary, they tend to be larger than any of the other years. We are not anticipating an increase in sponsorship, vendors, or sales tax. So again, that is being conservative for a 5-year anniversary rally. Next, we have a pie chart for those visual people. So what I used to compare is the last actuals that we had. So our last actuals were obviously from 2023. Since 2024 is not over yet, we don't have all those numbers. But if we look at the actual rally income from 2023, we had it made up 15% of the general fund revenue. For 2025, we put that at about 14%, so we're assuming a little less. Our other sources, the actual in 2023 was 14%. For the 2025 budget, we are assuming a little bit higher, have that up to 17%. In case anyone's wondering, our other sources would be things like liquor licenses, the STIP, bank franchise, I believe some community center activities. So that would be other sources. Then in 2023, the actuals for development were 3%. We kept that the same. And as far as development, that would be any of your building permits, your contractor licenses, plat fees, zoning and subdivision fees, and those type of things. In 2023, and we did that, that stayed the same. Next we have other funds. And in 2023, the actual for other funds was about 12% of the general fund revenue. We have that down a little bit at 11% for 2025. And the other funds would consist of your governmental funds and your enterprise funds, those things that are transferring money into the general fund. Next, we have interest. So in 2023, the actuals for our interest was 5%. For 2025, we have lowered that, and that is down just 1%. Next, we have property tax. So 2023's actuals, property tax was 26% of the general fund revenue. And for 2025, we have it being about 27%. And then last, we have our sales tax. And the actual from 2023 was 25%. We have lowered that for the 2025 budget down to 24%. So again, trying to be conservative where we can. So here is the general fund revenue. You can see a breakdown of the actual numbers. For sales tax, we're budgeting for $2,728,275. Our property tax numbers from the county, we have that $3,061,978. Interest down a little bit, like in the last graph. So all these numbers coincide with those pie charts that we had up. Then our other government enterprise funds, government and enterprise funds, 1.2 million. In development income, about 366,000. Rally income, 1.5 million. And other sources, 1.6 million. And then again, the numbers of the actuals in 2023. So the total revenue for the 2025 budget then is a total of 11,023,917. 11,023,917. And compared to what we actually received in 2023 was 10.4 million. Next, here are some more of our assumptions on expenses. Under employees, medical insurance goes up pretty much every year. We were anticipating a 7.5% increase when calculating the budget. I will say that we just got information today, and seems like we're always getting information in, and that's why this has been such a work and ongoing project. So we just got a number in that is actually going to be about 4.5. But we're leaving it right now at the 7.5, and so that's being conservative in case we need that. Next, under city paid utilities, we are assuming a 5% increase in costs for 2025, and we did the same thing in the 2024 budget, assume that 5% increase in our utility costs. And Rick and Jody, correct me if I'm wrong or on anything, or if I forget anything. This is just another chart that shows the 2023 year-end actuals under expenditures compared to the 2025 budget. And this breaks it down by department. I think everyone should be able to see that. I guess, Council, if you have any questions, it also shows a percentage change. We have gone down quite a bit. So administrative services, we went down quite a bit, obviously with losing our administrative services director. That made a big difference there. And we will hopefully have other staff picking up a lot of that slack. Some of our other big decreases, that 36% under attorneys, and that would be assuming we outsource our legal. So that would be going down a bit, not having a city attorney. Next, one of the other big decreases is under city administrator. And I believe that is just as far as the salary compared to city manager. Trying to see. All right, but compared to the 2023 year-end actuals on expenditures, that was 11,189,505, and for 2025s, we're looking at expenditures of that 11,023,918, which would give us a balanced budget. I'm gonna shoot over to the next slide. And then also anyone on council, I know some of this stuff, I can send this out to everyone, this PowerPoint. All right, here we have our enterprise funds. And those enterprise funds, as you can see, it's the liquor, water, wastewater, sanitation, and ambulance. Those enterprise funds, for anyone who doesn't know, they sort of act like a business and bring in revenue. So what they bring in should cover their expenses. And so their total operating costs expected for 2025. For liquor, we have at 3.6 million. The water fund at 2.3 million. Wastewater, just over 3 million. Sanitation, 1.6. Ambulance, 1.7. And then you can also see the actuals from that 2023. And some of them have gone up, and well, I think only one of them has gone down. Most have gone up, some not up by very much. But okay, some of our key adjustments. We have reduced funding for SEDC and the chamber. We have some savings through the elimination of some positions. For one, we currently have a city engineer, and we also contract with an engineering firm who has to review all of our work before it goes out. So in eliminating the city engineer position, we would just stick with that contracted firm to do all that work that we have them contracted to do now. So there would be some savings there. Also, the director of communications, as everyone probably knows, that's one of our newest positions. And so right now, in order to make sure that we have a good budget for 2025, we were able to get some savings by having some of those duties go back to some administrative staff like they have in the past. I believe our director of communications position has been in place for a couple of years. So we would just go back to having other staff do those functions. Also some savings in the HR and Administrative Services Director position. Currently, we have other staff that has taken on some of those duties. And for 2025, we believe that the other staff can maintain those duties at that same level. And if for 2026, we need to look at getting those positions filled, we can certainly do that. Or if council so chooses, we could certainly look at making other adjustments there. But right now, the way that we have things laid out are in savings for those positions. Also, there is nothing budgeted as far as funding for Sturgis Rally Charities. We do not have a current contract with them, but of course, things could change. It just was not plugged into the budget because we do not currently have a contract with them. Then we have some increased revenue. This would be if we outsourced sponsorship. There was that assumption of increased revenue. So currently the way the budget sits is having that through outsourcing sponsorship. At council direction, there is also that outsourcing legal counsel and eliminating 2 full-time positions. That would be the staff attorney position and the city attorney position. So currently, the way the budget is done, it is with outsourcing legal. So this has been a pretty conservative budget. The council is sitting with a contingency fund of just over $170,000. That is $107,125, which is from property taxes. That when we requested the max from the county, the motion was made to put any of that extra into a contingency fund. So that is where 107,000 of the 170 comes from, and then also 63,000 from a surplus in the general fund. The capital improvement fund has a contingency of 68,500. The equipment replacement fund have available about 172,000. Water fund has a contingency of 475,000. Wastewater has a contingency of 285,000. Sanitation has some savings for a new truck and contingency for 248,000. Then there was some liquor fund savings for the equipment, and that was 10,200. And then it was also plugged in an allowance for payment on new debt if needed. And this 382,000 was based on the conversations of possibly needing a loan. And so if we were to take out a loan, that would be our payment, and so we did factor that in. So if it comes down to it and we do not need to take this out, we do have that extra there. So again, that's pretty conservative. And so therefore, just adding up all of those items, that's a total savings or contingencies of 1.8 million. I listed our top priorities in here. So at the top, we have hiring a CPA firm to assist in the finance office with year-to-date for 2024, because I know a lot of people and a lot of people on council are looking for those numbers. And we do need to hire that CPA firm to get some help in that finance office so we can get things squared away there, get all of our numbers, and get where we need to be. Also, hiring a finance officer is key. Can't express that. This evening, this meeting that is about to start, right as soon as we finish this, will be to appoint an interim finance officer, but we do need to start the recruitment on our finance officer. Also hiring a city administrator top of the list. And then contracting a legal firm, that's due to that council direction of possibly not wanting a city attorney and wanting to outsource legal. So we would need to contract with a legal firm. Also, our city attorney has given his notice of his retirement, and that'll be effective November 1st. So we do need to get contracted with a legal firm here soon. And then also as a top priority, I just have improving the workplace atmosphere to encourage employee retention. So we need to make sure that we are keeping our good employees, that we're not spending more to constantly be recruiting for people. And so employee retention is definitely key. We have some amazing staff with the city, and so we want to make sure that we can do whatever we can to keep them all here. So the next steps, Tuesday, tomorrow, the budget worksheets will be sent out to council. I can also include this PowerPoint if you would all like it, just so you can look at things at a glance. What's that? Okay. The October 7th council meeting, council would have had the budget spreadsheet for 6 days, not quite a week. But we will plan on having a discussion on the budget at that October 7th meeting. October 21st, that would allow council 3 weeks to review the budget spreadsheet, to ask any questions, and hopefully have that first reading on October 21st. November 4th, we would like to have that second reading. So again, everything will be sent out to council tomorrow. If council has any questions, I would ask that you email either myself, Rick, or Jody. Let us know so we can do all the research that we can to get you the correct information. We've been working on this for quite some time, and it's not the type of thing that we can just pull numbers out quickly. So we do want to make sure that we're getting you the right numbers. So if you have any questions, as soon as you have them, get them to us so we can start looking things up for you. And that is what I have for that budget presentation. Again, you will all have the spreadsheet. I was going to show you all maybe how to use it. Rick, do you have a version of the spreadsheet that we could? Let me see. Hold on 1 second.
Madam Mayor, are you going to put this PowerPoint presentation on the website and have it for the public to look at so they can bring questions on the 7th? Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm not sure. I've been working on a couple of these, so I'm not sure. So I'm not sure if this is the most updated one, but I'll just pull this up for those of you new on council that might not know how to work these spreadsheets, just so when you get it. Oh, darn. Oh. Okay. How about when this goes out to council, I can try to work with everyone, let you know there are different tabs for the different departments, for the different funds. When you're in any of the any of the cells. If there's a little red triangle in the corner, that means that there's a note in there, and you can read the note. Some of the notes are not up to date, and you'd be able to tell based on, like, there might be some red triangles and something that is even zeroed out. But most of them would be up to date, and you can see who put in that note and all. So when that goes out, I'll kind of give some instructions, and if anyone wants me to go over it with them, Rick or Jody, I can show you how to go right through that spreadsheet, because it's a pretty big spreadsheet. All right. Anyone have any questions just on that? Quick questions I can answer before the meeting starts? Again, you're going to be getting all this tomorrow, so do you have questions?
One thing that I've been asked is regarding the flat track race. None of this at this point includes any income from that, because we will not have had that until this week later, or I don't know what they'll.
As
what
far as
they'll
our
do.
actuals, what we got from this
Right.
past rally, correct, we are meeting with them this week.
Right.
So,
I just
yes.
want to make sure people
Okay.
are aware that's.
Yeah, a lot of our 2024 actuals we don't have yet, but. Okay,
Yeah, Mayor?
well, yes.
I've got several questions, I guess. I want to make a statement, though. One is that we gave them a number, was what you said to each department, and so that concerns me when, in some cases, when we get to what did we actually cut in every budget, and I want to make sure that we acknowledge that our Title VII ordinance has very specific language about our budget and the budget process, including organizational charts, exact expenditures, and all those sorts of things. And I'm not sure that we're going to get to that level with just the spreadsheet. I mean, if it's the same spreadsheet that we've had over the last couple of years, it won't get us there. You know, we can't necessarily expect council to vote for a budget until we know what we're cutting. There's some major cuts in there. As we went across some of our expenses, you know, some clarification on this rally sponsorship combined piece, but it doesn't show that we've got any adjustment in personnel in there. The finance office is actually up 20%. The mayor and council was up 124%. I'm not sure how mayor and council could be up that far, and in fact, maybe even there's a way to discuss that it's a mayoral budget and a council budget, because that's two different pieces now, executive versus legislative. But what's kind of concerning is water is up by $900,000 in our enterprise funds, and how are we going to accomplish that? Are we raising rates? Because I'm not sure why we would include a note about how cheap our rates are. And again, I'm concerned that when A2S is doing they're doing it on base rates, not including all of our surcharges and whatnot, to get total cost. I mean, it's looking like we might be, 7% or more increase for our residents for some of those utility pieces, and that's very, very hasty math. I'm not sure why we ever bring up mill levy, because it really doesn't mean anything. Cutting mill levy just means our property is increasing in value faster than the 3% mandated by state law. We can increase our taxation on that. If property values were to ever drop, that mill levy is going to go through the ceiling. You think people are upset with taxation right now? Just hold on. So I'm not sure why we keep saying we dropped the mill levy, because it does not factor into anything. Again, outsourcing, increasing revenue through outsourcing sponsorship, but it doesn't show in the list that you provided there corresponding staff reductions or adjustments or whatnot, and so I'm assuming that will show through the organizational chart showing, required by our ordinance as part of our budget. But I guess it's maybe the most concerning thing is the contingency fund of $170,000. Aren't we mandated by state law to have a 5% contingency? We're in violation of state law. That should be at least 550,000, isn't it? Is it 5% or is it bigger than that? Is there anybody in the, I know we're in a work session, but I'm sure there's somebody, we have smart people in our gallery here.
Well, I can get you an answer after this meeting,
Well,
if that's your question that you have.
that is $170,000 doesn't contingent us against anything. And, you know, all the questions to be provided, I mean, I think our ordinance spells out very clearly that our budget presentation will be very, very complete, and there shouldn't be a whole lot of questions. It should be clear on where we're spending our money, what it's being spent on, the organizational chart of the community, and how the whole process is working. And so we're going to need that far in advance of the October meeting. So I mean, I hope the items I outlined in the ordinance are included tomorrow when you send out this information, because the spreadsheet, again, at least the versions that I've seen, are not adequate.
Well, once you see the spreadsheet, if you have any questions or if there's something missing that you were looking for in the spreadsheet, you can certainly let us know.
Well, that's a public-facing document as well, so.
So just let me know what questions you have once you get it. All right.
Going to be providing it in the complete form as the ordinance indicates.
I'm not sure what you mean about complete form. It's a spreadsheet, so you'll get the whole spreadsheet.
It says the budget will include very detailed information on all expenditures, capital and normal, organizational charts, you know,
That's
different.
in the spreadsheet.
It's in the spreadsheet.
Details are in the spreadsheet, absolutely. All right. Well, then I will conclude this work session. Council will get their information tomorrow.
I'll share that with anybody that requests it from me.
I'm just gonna scoot up, change my seat here so we can start the regular meeting, regular special meeting. Okay, changing gears a little bit over to our meeting. So I would like to call to order this special meeting of the Sturgis Common Council. Before it is 6:44 p.m. on Monday, September 30th. Before I actually get to approval of the agenda, I would like to say that it was mentioned at the last meeting that some council members had received messages while being up here during the meeting. And that's a bit concerning as far as open meeting violations go. So I am going to have to ask that all council members during our meetings place any devices capable of communications up on the top here. because we cannot have any kind of open meeting violations. And a couple council people,
Well, I'm not gonna be putting mine up there tonight because I have grandbaby number 5 on the way, and I might need to leave at any time. So I'm sorry,
Can
but
you-
I'm gonna have to hold on to mine tonight, so.
can you see your phone while it's up there, though, that you're able to just see when it's lit? I mean, Tony,
It's
it's
frustrating, it's
it's-
frustrating. I'm sorry. We shouldn't have, I'm sorry.
Well, it's not my fault that people were
Well,
receiving meetings,
I'm just saying
messages
that's
during the
frustrating.
meeting.
We shouldn't
you know.
have to.
I agree.
We're not in the 6th grade anymore. I'm sorry.
Mayor, I'd have to ask what your thoughts are on that. Why would we have to do that? I don't agree with what you said, so you need to give us a little.
Because it would be an open meeting violation. Anyone that comes to a meeting, or anyone that has something to say at a public meeting needs to state who they are, and everyone needs to be able to hear their comments. So we cannot have people from the public messaging just council people while they're up here, unless that council person is willing to say, so-and-so sent me this message, this is exactly what it says, and that needs to be public record. So the city is required to keep everything as a public record. So, I mean, if anyone up here wants their records subpoenaed, I mean, I know that I wouldn't want all of my messages and emails subpoenaed for writing to people, communicating during an open meeting. But I don't know if Mr. Marshall can give any more detail on open meeting laws.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. During the COVID era, Governor Nome introduced legislation that allowed public meetings to be conducted by teleconference. The purpose of that participation was allow people to both hear and communicate their opinions just as they would had they appeared in person before the council. That did not contemplate sending text messages to council members. It contemplated and implemented a direct participation. To use a text message is to communicate surreptitiously and obliquely and not allow council or the members of the public that are actually here and participating to see what's going on. So it is in the spirit of transparency that you should not use your devices to communicate with members of the public unless you are willing to announce what that person said and identify who they are.
I disagree with you, but of course that's not become uncommon. But I'd like somebody that I will check with to see what that's all about. All I ask is when people, one of my things in terms of transparency is if somebody has questions during this, it's not designed to be anything other than just another form of questions from the audience.
But when you get questions from the audience, you know who they are and you know what the question is. When you get a question to an individual council member, no one has the benefit of that information.
What brought this up, Angela? What's the reason?
Because it was mentioned at the last council meeting. People said that they were receiving messages, and so I couldn't not address that when I heard council people say that they just received a message, they just received a message. So hearing people on council say that they just received a message during the public meeting was a bit alarming to me.
I think some of those messages were related to the lack of live stream.
Exactly.
And the failure of our communications.
But I mean, regardless of what they were, that the fact that people admitted to receiving messages is what was alarming, because I don't know what other kind of messages anyone is receiving. So, and if anyone is receiving stuff that the public even hear, the public watching, that no one else is able to see, that should be public record. I mean, that's not something that I can just turn a blind eye to when it's brought to my attention. So that's what brought it up, Jim. That was your question, and so that's all. Just so that council is aware. I mean, going forward, I mean, I just had to do this for this meeting, but going forward, if you can all just be prepared to not have any devices, communication devices. So, okay. Yes, did you have a question in the back?
So Wendy Pitlick from the Black Hills Pioneer newspaper. Sorry.
As we're talking about this, we need to know who everyone is. Yes.
So Wendy Pitlick from the Black Hills Pioneer newspaper. I know a lot of people, including myself, rely on these meetings to be live streamed. And I just wondered if you're going to do that, since the last time the subject was the fact that there were technical difficulties. What kinds of assurances does this council have if our council members are not paying attention to how things are going on the live stream, that you will have somebody checking on that to make sure that it's working correctly?
I mean, we can't control technology and things go down. I mean, we're not required to have it live streamed. We will always have someone that is watching and trying to make sure that it's going, and we'll be right on it if it does go down. But I'm sure there might be times when it might go down and there's nothing that we could do about it. The public is always able to walk through those doors. The public is also able to call in. I don't know that we put the number on these agendas anymore, but people can call in if they have questions. But we just need to know who during a public meeting.
And also, I guess if that's an option, I guess I have a request that you put whatever number people should call in on the agenda. Lots of government agencies do that all the time, so that would be extremely helpful.
Yes, thanks, Wendy. And I know we used to do that, but I think just recently we might have gone away from putting that number on there. But thank you.
May I, Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Yet nonetheless,
Oh, it is on there.
our agenda.
It is on the agenda still, I
On
see.
the
Yep.
agenda, but Mr. Bush advised me that it's no longer available
Okay.
by 10 o'clock on the day of the meeting. So they're to call.
All right. Well, we'll make sure that at least a phone number is up and going.
Along those lines, Mayor, the newsletter put out to people indicated we were streaming Facebook, but it doesn't seem that we're streaming Facebook again. I thought we were from Facebook to YouTube. Last meeting, we had technical difficulties, so we went back to Facebook.
It should
And
just be YouTube for streaming.
That's not what the SIP said, unless I misread it.
Okay. Well, we'll have to make any things like that, just bring to people's attention. Again, this wasn't meant to be turned into a whole discussion. It was just me requesting that council just not have any devices capable of communication during a public meeting. Okay.
Let's see.
So that'll bring us down to approval of the agenda. Is there a motion on the agenda? That's a first by Mike,
Second.
a second by Dawn. All those in favor of approving the agenda, please indicate by stating yes. Yes. Those opposed with a no. Okay, we have an agenda. If we could all please stand and remove cover for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, under announcements and praise, I believe, I don't have a calendar in front of me. Rick, is it October 14th? Okay, October 14th, city offices will be closed for Native American Day. And that's what I have for announcements. Then I would like to take a moment to praise our Heavenly Father. Those who care to join in, please do so. Heavenly Father, you are wonderful and merciful, always bestowing your favor upon us, even as unworthy as we are. Help us to always trust in your goodness and your love, despite how unworthy we feel. You alone can turn all things for good. And we ask you to take what was meant for evil and turn it for good. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Come, Holy Spirit. All right. So then up next, or did anyone else have any announcements and praise?
I know there's a few community events this week. I know Wednesday is the forum for the AFT recap of the Sturgis TT. I think it's at 6 at the community center. And then Thursday is the Northern Hills Ag Banquet. I think that's at the Armory. I'm unsure of the time. Maybe it's 5. Somebody help me out if I'm wrong. And then 5. Thank you. And then the Bronco rally is this weekend.
Is that this weekend already? Okay.
And that might be it. If I've missed something, hopefully somebody else speaks up. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Ruth. All right. Anyone from the public have any announcements or praise? All right. Then that'll bring us down to our non-agenda matters. In this section, we invite the public to come forward and address the council with any matters that they might have that are not on this agenda. We ask if you do have anything, please come forward to the microphone, state your name, whether or not you are a resident of Sturgis, and we ask that you keep your comments respectful and to 3 minutes or less. Is there anyone with any non-agenda matters? Yes, Bonnie.
Bonnie Albert, Sturgis. I'm going to make 3 quick points. Jim, I hope that you will follow up on the research on the issue of messages passing to councilmen. I think that is an appalling level of control, and I have to back Tony in the fact that we are not in 6th grade, and I think it's an incredible aspersion on the integrity of the council that you have to see their phones on the counter, that it is not enough to say this is the expectation and presume that they will abide by that. The other question I have is why was no PowerPoint and spreadsheet provided to the council before this meeting? People are much more able to pick up, process, and understand information when they have the opportunity to preview or they have the opportunity to view within a reasonable distance of their eyesight. I have to question again why your Bible verse shows up on our screen in a public meeting. I think that's really inappropriate. It does not belong there, and the minute you saw that, it should have come down. Thank you.
Okay. And is there anyone else with any non-agenda matters?
Here.
Yes.
I've got a comment about the spreadsheet being sent out. I assume that's a Microsoft formatted spreadsheet. That formatting is probably going to be problematic for some of our council members and obviously some of the public to use because it's proprietary. Without that software, you're going to struggle with manipulating that. So that might not be an acceptable sharing of information, because many of the council members here use other products or don't have a licensed Excel spreadsheet capability.
So how would you suggest then, Councilor Forrester, how we prepare the budget? In what kind of spreadsheet would you suggest we do this in?
Well, a PDF is a universal format.
So you're just saying to send out the information in a PDF form?
Well, it's most capable for everyone to actually use it and dive into it. I mean, I'm not picking on some, but some use different, Apple devices and whatnot, and they don't always work together, these formats.
That's fine.
And so you're talking about having comments and drop downs and different pieces that functionality would not be available for everyone using that format. Just to comment as you provide this, I mean, it's your budget to present, and it needs to be in a format that can be digested by the masses.
Well, I imagine, this is going out to council. It's for council's review. This was the presentation to council. And when it goes out, if any council people have any problems using that spreadsheet, you can certainly let me know, and we can figure out how we can get it to you that you're able to use it. So why don't we start there with, it'll go out the way that it was prepared, and if someone has a problem and is not able to use it, then we'll work with them.
Kevin, I don't believe a PDF would be very functional at all. Nobody can see any hooks. Nobody can do any research. Nobody can dig down. If that's what we want, if that's what the public wants, I fully support that. Because people will literally get lost in the live spreadsheet. I've seen it, I've worked it, I've done spreadsheets my entire career. That's over 50 years of automation. And to put it in a PDF format does not do it or anybody any benefit.
Mike, I agree with the statement that, if you have a fully functioning software, using the software in a spreadsheet is most effective. But you have to have that licensed copy of the software to be able to manipulate. Other than that, it's a flat file. It's only what you can see on the front page.
From that aspect, Mayor, that has some merit. Send it out in a flat file. The public does not need to delve into our business and do the research on our finances. That's exactly what I was hoping for. Thank you very much. That is exactly what I'd hoped for. The people want to know, and to send a flat file is absolutely ludicrous.
A flat file that is all-inclusive works. A flat file that is incomplete doesn't work.
I agree. I don't know how many pieces of paper a flat file would be. This thick? That thick? I mean, you're talking one of the most sophisticated budgets that people have ever seen. It would be absolutely, if they printed it, it'd cost them $50 for ink. And that's the only way they would be able to review it in a flat file, is to print it, take all the appendices and plug them in, paper by paper by paper by paper, and then filing through it would be absolutely so time-consuming you couldn't get there.
Take a peek at the Meade County and Meade School District budgets.
That's the reason I don't look at them. So
Okay.
I'm not going to devote 10 hours to look at their budgets.
All right, I think we're at about 3 minutes for that topic. All right, then that brings us down to our next agenda item. Item 7.1. And this is the mayor's announcement, the appointment to the chamber board. That appointment to the chamber board I will be appointing myself to that board. And I believe that is the only board appointment we have for this evening.
That's with approval by the council, correct?
We don't normally vote on those appointments.
Isn't that what our ordinance reads, though? And if we're not funding them, I
With-
guess we probably won't have a seat.
This is for, at least for 2024, we're still in, so. And I have had conversations with the chamber. All right. Can you come up to the microphone, please?
Bonnie Albert, Sturgis, can we ask for your rationale on putting yourself on that board when what we've heard is how much time this job is taking and how little time you have to put to it? Why is you choosing yourself for that board rather than someone else? Thank you.
Sure thing. Well, my first choice was going to be Chief Jody as a member of the Chief Administrative Staff, but I know that he is completely overwhelmed with duties right now. And so in saving him some time where he has, I don't remember if it's drug court or teen court on Tuesdays, I know he'd be running from one meeting right into court. So to save him from that, I ended up appointing myself because on that board, it is usually a higher ranking management official. So that was my rationale.
Well, even the agenda report indicates that the appointment is effective until council reaffirms mayoral appointments, so council needs to affirm this appointment.
Okay, I don't know that, Mr. Marshall, I mean, we've never voted on, we didn't even vote the last meeting on any appointments. I don't know that we've ever, how that works, that process of affirming.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do not recall off the top of my head what the ordinance says or what our policies say.
Well then, Councillor Forrester, how would you like to confirm that appointment?
The normal operation for confirming mayoral appointments would be by vote.
So are you saying you would like to vote on this appointment, but not on any of the other ones that we've done? If you'd like to,
I want to vote on
Make
all
a
the
motion.
appointments,
Madam
just
Mayor.
like the ordinance says.
If I may, the ordinance is 7.0108. I have it from the minutes from the, what meeting is this? July 29th meeting, because I don't think we've had them published yet on our site. So I went back to the minutes. And it says that it is, and pardon while I scroll again here. The mayor, with the advice and approval of the Sturgis Common Council, may make council member appointments for a one-year term to each board or commission listed below, and the Sturgis Chamber of Commerce Board is listed on there. I think we made a mistake the last meeting in not voting on that or approving the appointments.
Well, part of the reason, if I might suggest, and it's that, Angela, you accept the responsibility and treat it that way, and for those of us that accept that, at times that we should ask that question, and you should also know it, because we should have that. Not because of control for anybody, it's involvement. And if we're going to be involved in those ideas, then we should be voting on it and be aware of what they are. And since we're talking about it, I'll bring up one more time. I have twice asked about being on the rally committee, and neither time have you done that, and I still don't know quite. I know you're busy about all kinds of things, but I made a special effort to ask you twice to please put me on that committee, and you didn't. And I would, had we voted, I would have brought it up at that point again.
well, I think I explained why you weren't on that committee, but Okay. Well,
Not to my satisfaction.
in light of moving on, then is there some kind of motion on this?
Well, I'd like to make the motion that we vote on approving or disapproving your appointment. Is that a motion? Okay.
Sure.
Did I word that right?
I mean, if it's in our ordinance that we
Yes.
should be voting on it, I mean, I would think we could just vote on it, but yes, you can make, so your motion is that we vote
Vote.
on this item. Okay. First by Ruth. First by Ruth, a second by Jim to vote on this item. Any discussion on that?
Yes, Mayor. Just for clarification, through legal, it's a Class 2 misdemeanor, is it not, to follow our ordinance? Is that what we were set up? I know we had heavy discussion on that.
Again, I can't recall off the top of my head if that is a Class 2 misdemeanor or violation countenanced by our ordinances or state law.
Madam
Okay.
Mayor,
Yes.
I've been here a long time. I can't remember how long ago, but we used to have all the appointments, all the different staff appointments, all the different committee appointments on a document. And in the agenda, we voted to approve or disapprove that document, or to make any changes to that document. That seems to be the easiest way for you to get the people that want to be to where they want to be.
Well, and this one just came up now, this one was due to Lisa's resignation, so this one just popped up. I think whenever we have a big bulk list of them, we can certainly do them all together like that. And I believe that would probably be in May that we do something like that. But, okay, so we had a first by Ruth and a second by Jim to vote on item 7.1. All those in favor, please indicate by stating yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those opposed with a no. Okay. Then, item 7.1. Is there a motion?
I motion to disapprove of your appointment.
Okay, that was a first by Ruth to disapprove that appointment. Second. Who was that by? Jim? Okay, first by Ruth and a second by Jim. Any discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by stating yes.
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 Those opposed,
No.
those opposed with a no.
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 Mike, Tony, Don, I did not get what Jesse or Nick voted.
No.
You were no, Jesse, and you were no, Nick? Okay. So that was 3 yeses and 5 noes. So that appointment will stick where I will be on the Chambers Board. All right, up next, item 7.2. We have payroll change in sanitation. Does anyone have any questions on that? All right, then we also, 7.3, have another payroll change of front desk attendant at the community center. Any questions on that one? And 7.4, again, another payroll change, and that is a lifeguard at the community
Mayor,
center.
that one gets removed, please.
Oh, okay, sorry about that. We will remove item 7.4 at the request of the department head, was it? Or, okay. All right, so that's removed at the request of the department head. Sorry about that. Okay. That brings us down to our next item, which is executive session. And there is anticipated action as we have other items after executive session. So is there a motion to go into
Mayor, I'd make the motion to go into executive session, but the council removes themselves from the room so that the gallery can stay seated.
Okay. So that's a first by Kevin to go into exec, a second by Jim to go into exec, with council going into another room. All those in favor, please indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed with a no. Okay, we will be
heard number 5.
Still am happy when we
Wow.
don't kick everybody out
Christmas,
of this room.
Christmas is gonna get tough.
And it's not bad on the street in the summer, but.
Everyone's here. Okay, it's 7:57. We are back in regular session. Up next, we have item 10.1, which is the consideration to approve Resolution 2024-59, and that is the appointment of an interim finance officer. Oops.
Mayor, I'd make a motion to approve that resolution, but change the date to be effective immediately due to the emergency nature.
Okay, that is a first by Kevin
A second.
to, okay, first by Kevin and a second by Dawn to approve Resolution 2024-59, making it effective immediately due to the emergency situation. All right, is there any discussion on that?
I have one question.
Yes.
Ann, you feel like
Yeah.
you really want to do this? And I mean, I want to know, because I would be thinking twice if it was me. Okay. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for your service and your dedication.
Madam Mayor, if I may,
Yes.
because this has come up as an emergency appointment, we do not have a written oath of office prepared, and I'm not, my memory isn't well enough to recite the oath of office orally. We can have those signed retroactively at next week's council meeting.
Okay. Council, that sound okay with everyone?
Yep.
All right. Okay, so that was a first by Kevin, second by Dawn. Any questions, comments from the public? Yes.
Bonnie Albert Sturgis. We don't all know Ann, so I would like you to give her a little introduction to the public so that she is welcomed. And I too appreciate that she's willing to make the sacrifice, but I think the general public has watched this very closely, and I think it would be helpful to just give them a little background.
Okay, well, she hasn't, the vote hasn't gone through yet, but I would invite Ann up to let everybody meet her that way.
Life story, or?
I guess
just my-
whatever Bonnie was asking for.
Well,
Yeah.
well, I've been with the city, let's see, for 33 years. I was deputy finance officer for 27. I've been at the Public Works Department for 5. So I am kind of a fixture. And I don't know, but the job has always had my heart, and I'm ready to try to give it a try and try to make things better. You're welcome.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Ann.
And you've actually served as interim finance officer before, have you not?
Yes, I have, yes, I was interim 2 other times, this will be my first time.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, with a first and a second on the floor to approve that resolution, I would say all those in favor, please indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed with a no. Okay, that passes. And like we said, and we will make this, at the next meeting, we will do the oath of office and make it retroactive. That brings us to item 10.2. This is consideration to accept a recruitment proposal from Prothman for the finance officer position and city administrator position, and to authorize the mayor to sign that contract.
Mayor,
Is there? Yes.
I'd make the motion to table that until our meeting on October 7th.
Okay. That is a first by Jesse to table that,
I'll second.
and that's a second by Jim.
Roll call, please.
Okay. Mike,
No.
Tony,
No.
Jesse,
Yes.
Ruth,
No.
Kevin,
Yes.
Don,
No.
Jim,
Yes.
and Nick.
No.
Okay, so that was 3 yeses and 5 nos. So that item to be tabled does not pass to be tabled. So, item 10.2, back on the floor. Is there any discussion, questions, comments, or a motion?
Mayor, I moved motion to pass.
Motion to approve. That is a first by Dawn to approve the recruitment proposal.
Second.
That's a second by Mike to approve. Any discussion?
This is
Questions?
$60,000 spend. I mean, we got to factor in the travel costs and all the rest of things. We just listened to a presentation as a work session about cutting staff and cutting services, raising rates. It seems like some of these positions could be very easily filled using our own processes in-house. And with that, I would make a substitute motion that we accept only the city administrator piece and not the finance officer piece, cutting that in 1/2.
Okay, so there is another motion on the floor by Kevin to accept half of that. And I'm sorry, you said the city administrator?
City administrator only.
Is there a second on that
Not second.
motion? Ruth, all right, got Ruth as a second. Okay, so we will vote on the first motion on the floor first, and that was to approve, to accept that recruitment proposal as it's presented.
Don't we vote on the substitute motion first?
thought we
I
voted.
believe that
Oh,
is the correct procedure, if I may,
Is
Madam
it?
Mayor.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. All right. Then we will vote on the substitute motion first.
Roll call.
I'll say, okay. Yeah, I was just going to ask if there's any more comments or discussion from the public. Yes.
Yes, I am a resident of Sturgis, Steve Anders. Know a lot of you very well, actually. My question would be, why are we spending money like we don't have it? Because we don't have it. You can't go to the grocery store and buy steak if you only can afford hamburger. And right now, we can only afford hamburger. So I am fully supporting what Kevin is saying, that you cut it at least to only the city administrator. To do more than that, we've elected you folks to be our representatives. You're all intelligent people, and you can probably go out and find our own city finance officer. I think we honestly have our new finance officer that we just appointed as interim, I think would be the best choice. And then go look for someone to augment that after she's willing to take that off and maybe when she's getting ready to retire. But right now, we don't have the money, folks. And by raising taxes, I know you're not talking about raising taxes, but you know it's coming. And it's taxing people out of their homes, and that's not acceptable. So.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Oh, sorry, Anders. Steve Anders. Yes.
Have we used this company before?
Not that I know of, not that I'm aware of.
Have we used any company before for this process?
That would be when we did a city manager, so what, 12 years ago or so? Do you?
Madam Mayor, we were on the council back then. I don't believe we used a recruitment.
When Dave Boone was hired, he was one of the three final candidates.
So, yeah, the way these companies work is they'll narrow it down to a number of candidates, and then the city gets to interview the ones that they narrow it down to after vetting them.
So,
Bonnie, I've worked with the company before, with
Okay.
Prothman.
with Prothman?
Yes.
Because that was what I was wondering, is who has vetted this company? So what do we know about their credibility and their suitability for what we're trying to do?
They're very, very professional. They will come in and organize everything. They'll organize the candidates. They'll send out national advertisements, including South Dakota. And they'll vet those candidates and pick the best possible candidates for us to be interviewed.
Well, and that's what I wanted to hear, because saying that they will and doing it are two different things. So it's one thing when a company says this is what we want to do, but I want to hear from somebody who's been there and had
I've
the
been there, and
experience.
that's what they do.
Thank you. Then the other question is, I really couldn't tell when I was looking at the cost factors. You know, they're saying, well, our people will come in and do this and do that. Is their travel expense in addition to our fee with them, or is that part of the fee with them? Them bringing their people to us to do the job for us.
I think the expenses, what they quoted up front for the first two positions, and then everything after that is expenses that we would incur on top of that.
Okay, see, I'm still not very clear about that, and I have to admit to the
So
fact that.
you're probably looking at, per position, somewhere in the neighborhood of $25,000 to $30,000 per position. So you're looking at 60,000, between 55 and 60,000
If we
for
were
both
to do
positions.
both of them.
Yes.
Yeah, and I stapled my pages together in the wrong order, so I'm having trouble finding what I'm looking for. So, okay, so then that takes care of my question about having talked to other clients, because you are the other client. And so, and that experience is why I thought you were a good candidate for our council, and I appreciate that you bring that to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We are on the substitute motion. That was a first by Kevin and a second by Ruth.
Can you please restate the
Yep.
motion?
It was a first by Kevin and a second by Ruth to accept only half of the recruitment proposal, and that would be the half to include the city administrator recruitment. All right. I will go ahead and roll call this. Kevin,
Yes.
Dawn,
No.
Jim,
Yes.
Nick,
No.
Mike,
No.
Tony,
No.
Jesse,
Yes.
and Ruth.
Yes.
So that is 4 yeses and 4 noes. Okay, I believe that's our first tie.
And Madam Mayor, under state law, you have the authority to cast the tie-breaking vote.
Excellent. And there's no special procedure for that. It's just a matter of me voting.
Yes, just a matter of you voting, Madam Mayor.
All right. No, we're in the vote already. And my vote would be a no. So then that would be 5 noes and 4 yeses. That would bring us back to the first motion, which was a motion by Dawn, seconded by Mike, and this was to accept the recruitment proposal the way that it stands.
Can we have discussion on that?
Okay.
Where do we intend to pay for those funds? Where are those funds coming from? I'd like to make sure that those are defined. What budget that the expenses will come out of, if this is approved.
Sure, and I believe Rick has some numbers. We do have money in some of our salaries and wages due to all the employees that we have lost. So we do still have some funds in those departments. Rick, could you run over those numbers for everyone to hear?
Sure. Those, you're correct, Mayor. Those would come out of the 2024 budget, not the 2025 that you proposed tonight. We do still have funds available in several of our departments. I would guess, my speculation would be the city manager recruitment would be paid out of the city manager budget. We currently have $70,407.69 left in that budget, and the other one, the recruitment for the finance officer, would likely come out of the finance office, where we have $61,697.23 left. If need be on that one, we would probably have to supplement it, but we have other wages that aren't being accrued, both in the attorney's budget, as well as we have some money left over in our HR budget. So it appears that we would have the money to be able to cover that.
Thank you, Rick.
But with
And
a
I-
supplement required.
If we need be on the finance one, would be the one that based on the wage that we're paying and the 2 other employees in there, if need be, it will be close, but we would have the other salaries that are in the general fund to be able to cover that will have the savings.
So, Mayor,
But it
can
would
I
be
ask
your
a legal
discretion.
question?
Sure, that would probably have to go to Mr. Marshall.
State law indicates that we can't enter into a contract without having funds available. Does that mean that we are okay with entering into a contract and going through a supplement that could truly fail because it's a separate vote at a later date? Or do the funds have to be in place at the time of the contract approval?
Can you ask just one question?
State law says that we cannot enter into a contract without having the
I hate
funds.
to interrupt you, Councilman Forrester, but I don't need the predicate. I need to know what your question is.
What is the proper approval for a contract if there is not funds available in a budget?
If you believe the report that has been provided by the mayor's chief administrative staff, there is no budgetary impediment to signing the contract. If you choose not to believe that report, there may be an impediment. We act on imperfect knowledge, and right now the information before you for your consideration is that there are funds available.
So let me help ask the question then, or let me ask the question. There was, Rick, in the finance office, you indicated how much in the wage category, line item?
$61,697.23.
61,000. We have 3 months of the year left. If we just passed an emergency resolution making it effective immediately that interim finance officer is an $80,000 position. That'll be roughly $20,000 for the remainder of the fourth quarter of the year, leaving $40,000. We have several other staff members in there. Their wage will add up to an unknown number. I don't have that in front of me, but we just heard discussion that it potentially is going to be a $30,000 lift. So that only leaves us $10,000 to pay multiple staff members out of that budget for the fourth quarter of 2024, leaving me to question whether or not there is adequate funds to support the contract.
So, Councilor Forrester, how do you propose we move forward? If that would all come into play, what are we going to do? How are we going to move forward? How are we going to hire anybody if you say we can't afford them?
I didn't say we can't afford it. It says state law says we cannot enter
I
into a
don't care.
contract unless we have the means of finance.
You're really good about the letter of the law and preaching it. I'm asking you as an individual, how do you perceive that we move forward?
I guess one way is if the council was going to vote on this, that they pay the entire fee out of the city manager budget, because there was $70,000 there, but that might leave a hole there as well, because we're paying the stipend fees out of that.
Madam Mayor, perhaps the council will forgo the remainder of their calendar year salaries to assist in this matter. You can surely have mine. I mean, I have no problem not getting paid this year or next. This is in the best interest of the city of Sturgis, for Christ's sake. I don't think anybody from the state's attorney's office is going to come down here and slap our hands.
I guess it would come down to when state law says that the funds need to be available. Are they talking in an individual budget or the budget overall? Because that would make a big difference.
Agreed.
May I, Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Council has identified, as has your administrative staff, several vacancies that could be used to fund this contract. In addition to that, you have the budgeted but not spent salary for the assistant city attorney. You have the remainder of my salary for the months of November, most of November and December. So there is additional money that could be used to supplement those budgets.
But that's the point, is it has to be a supplement, and a supplement is completed through a separate action by the council. So if we're going to actually approve a contract in the best interest of the community, we got to choose the budget that's paying for it. Rick, what's the balance in the attorney's budget after payout?
I don't have the payout after, because November 1 hasn't happened yet. As of right now, today, when I got these figures, there was $59,342.31.
And you also have the Lisa Katzenstein's salary. Supplements are simply moving money within an existing budget. So I don't see supplementing as any violation of state law.
Because we have the funds, we're just moving them around. And we also have Mike's salary.
Take mine. Maybe some of the others will donate theirs too.
I would.
And make sure that happens.
Okay, any other questions, comments?
So for clarity, the finance officer recruitment costs come out of the finance office personnel budget in their entirety, and the city administrator recruitment costs come out of the city manager / city administrator budget personnel cost in their entirety.
That would be what I would expect.
What I have heard, if I may, Madam Mayor, is that the funding for this contract comes out of budgeted but unspent salaries.
For the individual offices.
I don't believe I heard that,
That's just what I said.
but that wasn't my understanding. So I'm trying to illustrate that there may be disagreement with what you stated.
But you're not a voting member. What I'm looking for is finding out where we're paying for these contracts.
But it is my role to make sure that the motion before the council is understood. So if,
Is
that's all I
that-
have to say.
Well, so the motion that's on the floor did not state anything about where they would come from. I would imagine that even without that motion stating that, we would automatically go to those departments to pull that money for the recruitment of those positions.
Well, why don't we make it clear for the minutes? In the event that I can get a second, that I would amend the motion, that we approve the contract, but the expenses for each come out of the respective personnel costs for the office that's being recruited for.
So
Second.
Don had made, so you're making another substitute motion, or did you want to ask Don to amend his motion? So you just,
I can ask to amend Don's motion.
Don, would you like to amend your motion?
I would not. Rick, the, any question? The, the city manager's position, does that still have 70,000 left in it?
71.
Yes.
Correct, $70,407.69.
So, Madam Mayor, why don't we use that 70,000 to pay for this contract? And then when other issues come up regarding personnel, we can supplement those other budgets to pay for that. So we're just taking one budget to pay for this contract, and as things come up, we use the other budgets to supplement it.
Okay, to make it cleaner.
Are you
Okay.
amending your motion to be that?
So would you
I'll make a
want to
motion.
add that to
Add
your?
mine. Yep.
Okay,
Yes,
so
thank you.
Don is amending his motion to add that recruitment cost come out of the city manager / city administrator budget that currently has $70,000 in it. Mike, you were the second on his original motion. Would you like to second with his amendment?
I would.
Okay. All right. So then we have that amended motion. I think we've had our discussion. That was part of it. I will go ahead and roll call this.
Mayor?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes.
So we're going back to the vote, to
Yes.
the approval of the contract.
Yes. With that last amended motion to approve it as it is with all the money coming out of the city manager and city administrator budget.
Thank you.
Yes, Bonnie.
Bonnie Albert Sturgis. So I thought that the stipends were coming out of that city manager budget.
There are some coming out of most of the budgets, so yes, there are some coming out of there.
So how are they going to reduce that 70,000 by the end of the year?
What do you mean, how are they going to continue
How
to get a
much-
stipend? Oh, how much
How
would
much
be
will the
less?
70,000 be reduced by the stipends that we have committed to pay out of that portion of the budget?
I'm not sure. It would have, but we would do a supplement then for that if we needed to.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and roll call this. Is everyone knows what the motion is on the floor? Okay. Mike,
Yes.
Tony,
Yes.
Jesse,
No.
Ruth,
No.
Kevin,
No.
Don,
Yes.
Jim,
No.
Nick,
Yes.
Bingo.
Be tough.
Well, I am going to vote yes on this. So that would be 5 yeses, 4 noes. That passes. Up next, all we have left is to adjourn.
Motion to approve.
So first by Tony,
Second.
who- second by Dawn. All those in favor of adjourning, please indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed with a no. Okay, we are adjourned at the 8.